there was a Kareem Hunt signing.
Sighting.
Yeah, right. We haven't seen Kareem Hunt in a minute, and I thought he played well last game.
He did.
I thought he played well.
In the second half Sunday, there seemed to me a complete shift in, okay, listen, this is worse than we thought, or maybe it was bad. I don't know.
What do you mean?
But it was bad. So let's go back to the Jacoby offense. They went jumbo. They went jumbo on the first play of the third quarter, and they just ran the ball.
You know what the play splits were, by the way, in the second half?
That's right.
I knew he threw 8
Probably
passes.
3 runs to 8 passes.
Yeah, I knew he threw 8
To
passes.
all the
in the
run the
second
damn
half.
ball people, that was your half of football. I hope you liked it.
Bro, Jason just hit on the funniest thing, the truest thing I've ever heard in my life. He acknowledges that there are 2 different playbooks, right? And Kevin Stefanski had all intents and purposes to come in here and run that second playbook.
It looked that way.
And then, matter of fact, he even invited his kids. His kids was there. His family was there to see the unveiling of this top-notch Kevin Stefanski playbook. And he was like halfway through, oh, this ain't going to work. This not going to work. And he's like, hey, Jacoby. That's why Jacoby had his helmet on tough. Yeah. I was like, why is Jacoby?
Well, Jacoby played one play.
And by the way, I thought that was a terrible call.
It was one of the worst.
Oh, you bring him in and run a tight end reverse. I mean, it worked, so everybody loved it. But I was thinking that going, oh, my God, if this doesn't work, he's going to get destroyed for
He was telling his wife at home, watch this, babe. You'll never guess what this coming here.
I said, why does he have his helmet on?
I was like, why is he?
Now, Zach sat in the stands yesterday. Zach Jackson bought a ticket in the third, fourth row right behind the Browns sideline and watched the game from the stands. And his whole point was watch
Oh, they don't give you
Deshaun.
out tickets? You had to buy a ticket?
Well, we expensed it.
Yeah.
We expensed
You
it.
bought a ticket.
But
I don't care if you expensed it out. You bought the ticket.
Bought a ticket to sit in the stands, fourth row right behind the Browns sideline.
Let's get media pass.
And we had this idea back when we thought it was going to be a lot more hostile environment. So it obviously didn't turn out to be that. But one thing that Zach noticed in watching Deshaun was how much he was relying on Jacoby yesterday.
That's all.
And he said, like, at one point even, like, Jacoby was giving him the signs from the sideline, and then Deshaun gave the same sign at the line of scrimmage. So really, Jacoby was heavily involved in preparing Deshaun, both in the week leading up to and in the game yesterday. Deshaun was really leaning on Jacoby.
I think listen, and I was someone who thought there was going to be rust. But I think we all severely underestimated that not only is it 2 years, but it's a new team, it's a new offense, it's a new everything. He's never played before yesterday outside of 8 preseason snaps with any of these guys, any of them. So, I mean, if you combine the two things, not to mention all the off-the-field stuff, which who knows how he's handling it mentally right now, coming back for the first time. He's swimming right now a little bit, and we should have probably realized that was going to be there. Now, maybe it all goes away in 1 week, but I find that hard to believe.
Well, let me tell you this. This is
you don't go through throwing it in the dirt to
I remember
like
the first time when I was playing as a freshman, we played against Iowa State. They had Seneca Wallace at the time. And I remember being at the line of scrimmage, and you don't really know how big these linemen is until you be like, I'm 6'5". These dudes is like 6'7", 340. So you can't even really see the quarterback. And the scariest part about it is when they call a play in the huddle, your mind blanks. You're like, hold on, what do I do on this play? And it's scary because you know, rain, sleet, or snow, they about to come snap this ball in 5 seconds, and you have no clue where to go. So there's this level of panic in your stomach. Like, it's the panic of, I would think, if you're a parent and you lose your kid in the grocery store, and you look around like, Johnny, are you in the meat section? And you can't find them? That's the same panic. And so for me, I only move 1 or 2 gaps. All I got to do is just rush upfield and push, come, shove, do something fast. But if you're a quarterback, you get to the line of scrimmage, and you're like, all right, I don't remember how to audible out of this play. I don't know what it's called. Right. And what am I going to do next? Oh, you know what? I don't know. It's just slow.
It's the processing. And the one thing I said, I don't want you to underestimate this. You cannot emulate two edge rushers coming to crush your skull.
That's right.
You cannot.
That's right.
Emulate that. You can't do it in practice. You can't do it at the high school field where you was training.
No.
It is, and 700 days until you get that cadence down again.
Right.
Because I was thinking about it like basketball, right? I was thinking about when Jordan came back, right? Jordan had the luxury of going to training camp, and he's playing every day, but he's playing real people at a high speed. He may not be playing game speed, but you're pretty much there. You can't chase. You can't simulate that edge rusher coming to knock your head
Well,
off.
but not to mention, Brad, Michael Jordan is the greatest player ever, and
he struggled when he came back.
he did, but he was playing with the same team at least, right? So he knew the guys.
And when he was shooting Space Jam, he had all of the top stars coming out there just, hey, come play with me so I can steal some of your game.
Right.
He was scouting. Let me see if you done got better. Because that's scary coming back and you playing these monsters. Yeah, think about it. I mean, the Rockets won 2 championships. I mean, Hakeem Olajuwon at that point in time was probably the best player in the world.
Yeah.
And he's like, they done won 2. And that's why I go back before for LeBron and Jordan all the time. I will say some of the stuff that Jordan was doing was very impressive. For you to come back and to play a young athletic Shaq, to come back and deny the Rockets an opportunity to do what they was doing.
So progress to me for Deshaun Watson this weekend would be keep the balls out the dirt and look like the game is slowing, because it looked like the game was so fast for him yesterday.
Yes.
I just want to see some signs that it's slowing down, and now you're not delivering the balls in the dirt, right? Because I don't think you can knock off that amount of rust bull in a week. You can't.
Not to mention you're going from playing the worst team in football to one of the 5 best teams in football. That's a huge difference.
Are you guys concerned with him using his legs more? Because there is a risk.
Ran it 7 times.
It's a risk reward. 7 for 21 ain't bad, but I don't know if they think, okay, well he ain't there this way. Let's utilize his legs more and give him that Justin Fields
I'm not
playbook.
concerned about
I don't
it.
think I don't think you can't operate that way because that's a big part of his game.
Yeah.
So you can't take that away. You need, if anything, that may help get him back into rhythm. So I don't think you can run from that.
I think when he broke out on one run yesterday, he shook a guy on his own.
Yeah,
he was like, I'm gonna shake, and that's just natural. He just knew what to do, right?
Yeah.
And that's why I said when he took that blow, and he got up. Now that makes me feel better, because if I'm him, I'm like, oh, I survived it.
Yeah.
I'm good.
I can take a hit.
He
Guys,
go ahead.
I was going to say, level of concern with 10 being panic, 1 being no concern, level of concern right now about the offensive line.
I'm not panicking, but
6 and a half.
I'm
7.
concerned.
So,
right?
okay.
And I
7.
know we've had injuries, and instead of no continuity here, so I'm not concerned.
Yeah.
But I'm concerned to this standpoint here. I can't let Deshaun Watson get killed in the last 5 games.
That's right.
I cannot.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm gonna do everything I can to make sure he doesn't get killed, because I told you I'm not playing for this year. I'm just playing this out. What happens, happens. But I'm really playing for next year.
There's 2 guys that really scare me, and one of them ain't gonna be here anyway. So Conklin's not gonna be here. I feel like the injuries have really hurt Conklin's his athletic ability, and one of the reasons he was really good is because he's built long, slender. He's almost the size of a left tackle. However, he plays on the right side. So I think his injuries have stripped him away of a lot of his leverage. And when you don't have leverage, you don't have the ability to get low enough to group people out. On that goal line play, when they got that safety, he got destroyed. It was bad. He got walked into the backfield.
And it's not like the Texans have a good D-line.
And it's like you said, it's not like they got anybody of consequence up there.
Yeah.
And the guy, Jedrick Wills, and I talked to Joe Thomas about this. He came on the Locked On Browns podcast. He said, the alarming thing for Jedrick Wills is sometimes it seems like he doesn't know what he's doing as far as assignment or who he's blocking or who he has in the scheme of things, right?
How can that even be?
That's why I said, how's that a fact? And he says, and the problem is, instead of him going to the whistle and finding somebody to hit and finding somebody to be aggressive with, he tends to stop. And the play's still going on. And now instead of your guys hitting the back, and the other guy you could have blocked or you could have went on to kind of move to the next level, he's in on the tackle.
Yeah.
And he doesn't, he's like, I don't understand why he stops in the middle of plays like that. That's disturbing to me.
You know what's interesting looking forward this week? A big part of the reason why the Browns have dominated the Bengals, and I'll just look at the 2 matchups with Burrow the last 2 years is because the Browns in those 2 games have dominated the line of scrimmage, both sides. But right now, you have a Browns offensive line that's playing its worst football in years,
Right.
and a Bengals offensive line that's playing its best football in years. You have a Browns defensive line that really brings nothing to the table outside of Myles Garrett, and a Bengals offensive line that's peaking now with their best run stopper back. And I think Sam Hubbard, the former Buckeye, I've been lukewarm on him in his career. He's playing his best football, and Trey Hendrickson may be the most underrated pass rusher in the entire NFL. That's been the difference. I'm going to be curious to see, because the Bengals have not been able to figure out how to stop. Like Myles Garrett looks like the best. He plays his best games against the Bengals.
Yeah.
And they haven't figured out a way to stop him. They don't do a lot. For whatever reason, their left tackle's is probably their biggest weak spot. So it's going to be interesting in the trench.
I'm gonna say this.
Yeah.
I'll give you this, and this is a little scary. It's food for thought. Joe Bitonio is 31. You go down the list,
And he's their best guy. Wyatt Teller's not playing well right now, coming off the injury.
Jack Conklin's 28.
He's going to be gone at the end of the year.
And he's going to be gone at the end of the year. You keep going down the list, and you keep finding.
Who would have thought the Pochich injury would be that big a deal? But it has been. It seems like.
Chris Hudson, 31.
Hubbard.
Chris Hubbard. Yeah. 31. You look at some of these guys. Teller is 30. Wyatt Teller. Oh no, he ain't. Excuse me. Wyatt Teller is 28. But he has
a calf injury. He's missed time every year.
Yeah, the calf I think is a little bit of a concern with him.
Yeah.
But so there's 2 ways to look at it. The Posick thing was bad. I mean, they're down to their 4th string center now.
Yeah.
But the flip side of that, and Posick was on a 1-year deal, but he played so well. I was talking to him the other day about it. He'd love to come back next year.
Yeah.
He chose the Browns in part because of their strength staff, because of Bill Callahan and all that.
Yeah.
So now, next year you have a choice to make it center, Nick Harris or Ethan Posick. And Harris has experience at guard.
Yeah.
So I'll be curious. I mean, we're getting way ahead of ourselves now, but I'll be curious to see how this center thing shakes out next year in terms of which way they go, Posick or Nick Harris, and then the guy who doesn't start at center, where is he going?
Right. Are they moving on from one of the guards to save some money?
I've talked about that. You can't pay these guards $30 million when you're paying Deshaun $45 million. There's going to come
Bitonio's the best, but Teller's younger.
So
Teller's been more injury.
So what's your real quick before you make a point? What's your ideal? We'll go around the horn. But what's your ideal scenario, assuming financially everything can work out? How would you want to see the interior of the Browns' offensive line look next year?
Well, I would. If I'm not factoring in money, I'd want to keep Pochich at center. Nick Harris has potential, but Pochich played well.
Right.
Yeah, we got tape on him. And plus, I could use Harris as a platoon guy. I could use him I would say he could play at guard, which he can. But next year you're going to have to get Hudson together, ready to play, because I presume he's your right tackle.
Hudson's going to be your right tackle next year, I would imagine.
So for me, I would bring him. I would like him, Harris. I like Pochich, and I keep the rest of the guys if we don't have no money involved. But if money is involved, man, that's rough. Like Teller is great. But the unintended consequences of running the football that much is the fact that you are putting a lot of wear and tear on them guys.
Yeah.
And linemen usually are pass blocking. If you look at the analytics, I would be happy to see or fascinated to see what analytics say about what it does to your offensive line compared to the rest of the people in the league who usually don't have this much pounding.
The Bitonio one's tricky because he might be the best guard in football, but guards don't usually hold up deep into their 30s.
No, not really.
Don't make me pick between Wyatt Teller and Joe Bitonio.
If I had to pick, even though Teller's younger, I think I'd stick with Bitonio. I think it's because in the end he's better.
Right.
And Teller's been injury prone, and Bitonio has not.
Yeah. I mean, but
I don't want to. That's a terrible situation to be in.
I don't want to have to pick between them.
Because those are your 2 best offensive linemen by far.
And by the way, you really might have to pick because you got to get 2 D tackles and another end because I don't think Clowney's coming back.
No.
Money is an issue this offseason, and Jason's alluded to this a number of times on this show.
Right. And
they have a lot of tough decisions to make this season.
They do.
Some of the better players on the team will not be here now.
And that is the secret of what they call being the general manager.
Right.
Well, and you have to get all your other picks right. They can't blow it with these mid-round picks.
There are no unlimited budgets here.
And there's
decisions to be made.
Yeah.
I would tell you this. I'm keeping Pochich. I'm keeping Nick. I'm keeping Bitonio. Jedrick Wills got to go. We can't do this dance no more. You know what I'm saying? You got to solve some issues. And you may have to find somebody off a scrap heap, right?
Like,
That's hard to do at left tackle.
if you, man.
Here's something. Let me throw this at you.
Real quick, as we're talking about the cap, I think they'll be okay this year. Or I'm sorry, next year.
Yeah.
It's the year after, I think, where they're really going to.
But let me ask you this: I wonder. I don't think they're going to move on from Jedrick Wills, but I wonder if they would consider moving Jedrick Wills to right tackle.
I threw that out.
And
Hudson
whether
left.
it's Hudson at left or if there's somebody, you can get a good offensive lineman in the second round, third round. It happens all the time. If they see somebody they really like that they think could be a left tackle, I don't know.
It's hard to find a premier left tackle in the second round.
Fair, that's fair.
If they moved on from, say, Teller or Bitonio, would they be willing to move him to guard?
Well, I mean, the conversation, if you really want to move Wills, to me, is you go to Joel and ask him again, are you willing to play left tackle? And they went down this road before, I believe, and Joel was too comfortable at guard, and they didn't want to mess with a good thing.
I wouldn't. At his age, am I going to ask him to move to tackle?
But I'm just saying, if you're trying to, that's a Band-Aid on the situation. If you're really unhappy with Wills, that solves your dilemma because now Bitonio's your left guard, Harris can be your left.
I think if I had to bet today, I would say their starting offensive line week 1, assuming health, is Wills at left tackle, Bitonio at left guard, Pochich at center, Teller at right guard, and Hudson at right tackle.
I would agree with that. And Harris as a backup. I would agree because I think they're going to move on from Chris Hubbard.
Right.
I have a question for you guys real quick, though, about this. And G. Bush, you said earlier we saw Myles Garrett move around the line. He was in the middle at times yesterday. He was attacking a lot against the Texans' right tackle because Laramie Tunsil on the left is really good. With how frequently defensive coordinators move around premier pass rushers, it's not always on that right end going against the left tackle now. Is it as important to have an elite left tackle as opposed to right tackle? Because it always used to be the left tackle was better than the right tackle.
Well, but the left tackle is protecting the blind side of the quarterback.
But with Watson, who scrambles around and is as mobile
I still
as
think
he
it's
is.
important, G, as the former D lineman here.
I think left tackle. I think it's a little. The gap has decreased.
No doubt.
It's shrunk a little bit, but I would still prefer my best left tackle at left tackle because you got to think about it. There's a lot of runs that go that way. Like the tendencies in the league, running behind left tackles is just higher. Like it just is what it is. Now, could you have a guy at right tackle that could potentially play left? Sure, because they blitz from both different positions. But I would still like to have a higher quality left tackle. And I think that's just one of the reasons you see it is you're not seeing those holes on the outside like you used to seeing. Like they're just not there. They're doing a lot of zone up the middle because they don't trust Jedrick Wills to try to reach somebody. He can't because he's going to either hold or he's going to grab somebody because he's just not having good footwork right now against those edge defenders.
And I do think that still from an injury perspective, like a lot of times when you see these catastrophic injuries to quarterbacks, it happens when they get hit from the blind side.
Yeah.
They don't see it coming and they get hit. So that to me is why I still think it's important.
I think I just go back to the Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes. They had Mitchell Schwartz on the right side, who we got to get Mitchell back on soon. By the way, we got to.
I thought he was good.
He was a great player.
But he was the right tackle. Their left tackle was always a rotating door of veterans, and they always said because Mahomes scrambles, it wasn't as important. It is that scrambles, but he doesn't stay in the pocket traditionally like a pocket passer, so it wasn't as important. So with Watson's ability to move around and move the pocket,
or maybe they just said that because they couldn't find a left tackle.
Yeah, that's very true too. And Mitchell Schwartz happened to be one of the best right tackles.
Yeah. Exactly.
It'll be worth. I'll reach out to Mitchell this week. I'll see if we get him back on.
Yeah, I missed that when he was here. I think that was when I had COVID or something. Maybe I was on vacation.
No, you were your vacation week. You were in Seattle.
Yeah, okay. So, but anyway, so yeah, well, we'll get back to long term next year.